The phone pierced the silence of the night, its sharp ring cutting through the stillness of Harper Quinn's Atlanta home. It was 11:47 p.m., and Harper, sprawled on her couch with a glass of Merlot, almost ignored it, but the insistent buzz, the kind that demanded attention, made her glance at the screen. Evelyn, her younger sister's name glowed in the dark. Harper's stomach tightened. They hadn't spoken in months. Not since Evelyn's last dramatic exit from a family barbecue, leaving a trail of hurt feelings and half-eaten potato salad. Against her better judgment, Harper answered. Harper, I need you. Evelyn's voice was a fragile whisper, barely audible over the hum of static. I lost my job. The boutique shut down. I've got nowhere to go. The words hung heavy, laced with a desperation Harper hadn't heard since they were kids sharing a bunk bed in their cramped Savannah apartment. Memories of Evelyn's tear-streaked face after their parents' fights flickered in Harper's mind. She sighed, her resolve softening despite the years of distance between them. Okay, Harper said, her voice steady but guarded. You can stay here, just until you get back on your feet. By the next evening, Evelyn stood at Harper's doorstep, looking like a ghost of the vibrant sister Harper once knew. Her auburn hair was dull, her frame swallowed by an oversized hoodie. She clutched a duffel bag, her eyes darting nervously. Harper forced a smile, guiding her to the guest room of her meticulously restored craftsman bungalow, a home she'd bought and renovated with her own savings. A testament to her independence. Evelyn hugged her tightly, murmuring, "You're a lifesaver, Harp." For a fleeting moment, Harper let herself believe she was doing the right thing. She mentioned Evelyn's arrival to her boyfriend, Mason Carter, over dinner. Mason, a laid-back graphic designer with a knack for diffusing tension, nodded without hesitation. Of course she can stay, he said, his hazel eyes warm but fleetingly unreadable. Harper paused, fork mid-air. His agreement came too quickly, too smoothly, like a rehearsed line. She brushed it off, chalking it up to her own paranoia. After all, Mason had always been supportive, hadn't he? At first, Evelyn's presence was manageable. She slept late, blaming the stress of her sudden unemployment, while Harper juggled her remote marketing job and kept the household running. The sisters moved around each other like cautious strangers, their conversations limited to polite small talk. But then, subtle shifts began to ripple through the house. Mason, who usually spent evenings sketching in his home office, started lingering in the kitchen whenever Evelyn was there, brewing her endless cups of chamomile tea. Their laughter would drift through the house, private jokes Harper wasn't privy to. One night, she walked into the living room to find them on the couch, watching a cheesy rom-com, their shoulders brushing. The air shifted when they saw her, the laughter died, and Evelyn's smile tightened. Harper forced a grin, retreating to her office, but the image burned in her mind. The changes grew harder to ignore. When Harper offered to grab groceries, Mason waved her off. "Evie and I got it," he said, tossing Evelyn a conspiratorial grin. Evie? Since when was she Evie? That night, Harper stood in the hallway, staring at Evelyn's closed bedroom door. The house felt different, not louder, not hostile, just off, like a song played in the wrong key. She told herself she was overthinking. That stress was making her see things that weren't there. But then she saw it. Evelyn's hand grazing Mason's arm in the kitchen. A casual touch that felt too practiced. Mason didn't pull away, he smirked. A look Harper hadn't seen him wear before. She said nothing, but her skin prickled with unease. Lying in bed that night, Harper stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazily overhead. Muffled voices floated up from downstairs, not laughter this time, but low, serious murmurs. She strained to hear, but the words were lost. Her heart thudded. She'd always trusted actions over words. And lately, Mason and Evelyn's actions were screaming. The tension snapped at a family dinner Evelyn orchestrated without warning. Harper came home from a late meeting to find her dining room transformed, candles flickering, wildflowers in mason jars, and place cards meticulously arranged. Her name sat at the table's edge, while Evelyn's was front and center. Evelyn glided among the guests, Harper's parents, her aunt, a few cousins, like she owned the place. her laughter loud and performative, her hand brushing shoulders as she passed. Mason poured wine, his usual seat beside Harper taken by Evelyn's friend, Ashley. Harper sat in her own home, surrounded by family, yet felt like an intruder. The conversation buzzed, but every time Harper tried to join, Evelyn redirected it. "Oh, Harper's been so swamped with work," she'd say, waving a manicured hand. "Practically lives in her office." Her smile was saccharine, but her eyes were sharp. Then, as dessert was served, Evelyn stood, tapping her glass with a fork. The room fell silent. She scanned the faces, pausing for effect, her voice dripping with rehearsed sweetness. "I know this is sudden," she began, "but I have something wonderful to share. Mason and we're expecting a baby." The words detonated. Gasps rippled through the room. A cousin's fork clattered to the floor. Harper's mother, Diane, pressed a hand to her chest, eyes wide. Her father, Tom, blinked rapidly, his face pale. Mason stared at his plate, silent, his knuckles white around his glass. Every eye turned to Harper, waiting for her to crumble. But she didn't. She stood, smoothed her blouse, and walked out, her steps deliberate, her spine straight. Upstairs, she locked her bedroom door, the muffled chaos below fading like a distant storm. Harper didn't cry. She didn't scream. Instead, she opened her desk drawer and pulled out a thick manila folder, deeds, mortgage papers, purchase records, all in her name. This house, every brick and beam, was hers. Evelyn might have stolen the spotlight, but Harper held the truth. She sat on the edge of her bed, the folder heavy in her lap, and began to plan. They thought she was too quiet to fight back. They were wrong. Harper Quinn sat at her kitchen island, the morning light filtering through the blinds of her Atlanta bungalow. Her coffee was cold, untouched, as her eyes flicked between the steam rising from the mug and the iPad Evelyn had left carelessly on the counter. The device had been a constant in Evelyn's hands since she'd moved in. But now it sat unattended, its screen dark. Harper's gut churned with a mix of guilt and curiosity. She shouldn't snoop. Her mother, Diane, had always preached respecting boundaries, but the past weeks had eroded her trust. Evelyn's too close laughter with Mason, the way her hand lingered on his arm, the family dinner where she dropped a bombshell about a supposed baby, it all gnawed at Harper like a splinter under her skin. When Evelyn's phone rang upstairs, pulling her away, Harper acted. She tapped the iPad, the screen flaring to life. A message notification pulsed. "Ashley." Harper hesitated, her thumb hovering. Then she opened it. The words hit like a slap. "Once the baby's announced, Harper's out. Mason's a pushover, house is mine." Another followed. "She's too quiet to fight back. Just keep him hooked." Harper's breath caught. She scrolled, each message unveiling a calculated plan. Evelyn wasn't just playing house, she was orchestrating a takeover. The fake pregnancy was a ploy to guilt Harper into leaving, to shame her into surrendering the home she'd built from nothing. And Mason? Either he was complicit or too spineless to resist Evelyn's charm. Harper's hands stayed steady as she took screenshots, forwarding them to her own email before wiping the traces. She locked the iPad, placing it back exactly as Evelyn had left it. Her heart didn't race. Her anger was cold, precise. She sipped her coffee, now bitter, and let the truth settle. This wasn't about sisterly bonding or a temporary refuge. It was a con, and Harper was the mark. Later that day, she checked her home office, a sanctuary of organized chaos where she kept her important documents. The drawer where she stored her mortgage papers felt wrong, papers slightly askew. A folder missing. Her pulse quickened. She opened her laptop, pulling up the printer history. There it was. Ownership transfer request. Printed at 3:17 p.m. the previous day. Harper's jaw tightened. Evelyn and Mason weren't just scheming. They were moving pieces on a board she hadn't even known they were playing. That afternoon, when Evelyn and Mason returned from a quick errand, Harper was ready. She sat at the dining table. The original deed to her house spread out before her, signed, notarized, ironclad. The embossed seal glinted under the chandelier. They stepped inside, Evelyn's laugh cutting off when she saw Harper's expression. Mason froze, his keys clattering onto the side table. Lost something? Harper asked, her voice calm but sharp, like a blade hidden in silk. She tapped the deed. Or were you just curious? Evelyn's eyes darted to the paper, then back to Harper. What's this about? She asked, her tone too light, too innocent. You know what it is. Harper said. What I want to know is why there's a fake transfer document in my printer queue. Evelyn's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly, stepping forward with a syrupy laugh. Harper, you're so stressed lately. It was just a what if. You know? Exploring options. Options? Harper cut in, her voice steady. This isn't a game of Monopoly. Evelyn, you don't get to explore my house out from under me. Mason shifted, his face pale, eyes fixed on the floor. Harper turned to him. And you? Did you think I wouldn't notice? He opened his mouth, but no words came. Evelyn jumped in, her voice rising. You're blowing this out of proportion. We were just talking about simplifying things. Maybe sharing. Harper slid the deed toward her. This isn't yours to share. She stood, her presence filling the room. Touch one more document in this house, and I'll let the law finish what I've started. Evelyn blinked, her facade cracking. Mason looked like he wanted to vanish. Harper didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. That's your warning, she said, turning away. There won't be another. The next day, the air in the house was thick with unspoken accusations. Evelyn lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Mason avoided Harper's gaze, muttering about a work deadline. Harper kept her routine, coffee, emails, silence, but her mind was a storm. She was done playing the gracious host. That evening, Harper came home to an ambush. Her mother, Diane, sat on the couch beside Evelyn, their hands clasped, faces set in matching disapproval. Her father, Tom, lingered by the window, uncomfortable but silent. Diane spoke first, her voice sharp. We need to talk. Harper, this has to stop. Evelyn pulled a folded paper from her bag, handing it to Diane with a practiced tremble. The baby's real, she said, loud enough for the neighbors to hear through the open window. I just want peace. Diane's eyes lit up, as if Evelyn had handed her the key to a long-lost dream. She thrust the paper at Harper, an ultrasound. Grainy and smudged, the clinic logo clearly photoshopped. Harper unfolded it, her face unreadable. You expect me to believe this? She asked. Her voice low, deliberate. You're being cruel. Diane snapped. She's trying. Harper, you need to stop acting like you're above everyone else. Evelyn's eyes glistened, her voice soft but venomous. You don't have to like me. But this is happening. Mason and I didn't plan it. But life's messy. Harper set the ultrasound on the table. Not a whisper, not a scream, she said, her words cutting through the room. Just truth. She looked at her mother. You saw the texts. You know what she's doing. Diane waved a hand. I don't care about screenshots. I care about family. Blood is blood. Harper's laugh was short, bitter. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. She stepped toward the door, holding it open. You both need to go. Diane's mouth opened, but Harper's stare silenced her. Evelyn's tears dried instantly, her mask slipping. They left, their footsteps heavy on the porch. The silence louder than any argument. The next morning, Harper called in sick, not because she was breaking, but because she was building. She needed time to act. That afternoon, Mason knocked, his face haggard, his usual charm gone. I need to talk, he said, barely meeting her eyes. Harper let him in, but only to the living room. No water, no pleasantries, she lied. Mason said, no preamble. There was no baby. I asked for proof, a test. A doctor's note. She'd cry. Shut down. I wanted to believe her. But, his voice trailed off, shame creeping in. Harper pulled out her phone. Mind if I record this? Mason shook his head. She hit record, holding the screen like a shield. Start again. He did, detailing every moment. Evelyn's evasions. Her tears. The lack of evidence. Harper didn't interrupt. She let the truth spill. Captured in digital clarity. This isn't about revenge, she said when he finished. It's about the record. The front door slammed open. Evelyn stormed in, hair wild, mascara streaking her face. "What did you say?" she shrieked, lunging at Mason. "You're recording him? This is a setup." Her voice cracked, her hands clawing at his shirt. "I was scared. Mason, you were slipping away." Harper stepped back, unfazed. Evelyn dropped to her knees, sobbing, her performance Oscar-worthy. "I was pregnant. I swear. Maybe not long. But please don't leave me." Neighbors gathered outside, phones out, recording the meltdown. Harper closed the door, locking it, and watched through the peephole as Evelyn's facade crumbled for the world to see. By morning, the video was viral. Harper didn't share it, someone else did. A neighbor with a front row seat. Comments flooded in. Manipulative. Caught red-handed. Poor Harper. For once, Harper was the victim, not the villain. 2 days later, Diane showed up, clutching a manila envelope like a lifeline. "You humiliated her," she said, her voice flat. "She lost the baby because of you." Harper didn't flinch. There was no baby. She didn't touch the envelope. Didn't need to. "You know what she did." "She's confused," Diane insisted. "Family doesn't slam doors. Mine locks them," Harper said, her voice final. Diane muttered about cold hearts. But Harper was done. She locked the door before her mother's heels left the porch. Mason texted later, then showed up with flowers. A hopeful smile. Harper opened the window, not the door. "Thank you for the truth," she said. "But you let it happen." His smile faded. He left the bouquet on the mat. She didn't pick it up. That night, Harper called her lawyer. "File it," she said. "Finalize everything." The divorce papers arrived the next week. All property in her name. She signed, the pen steady, the weight lifting. She packed her office, books, files, a mug that read "You've got this," and prepared to leave. Not in defeat, but by choice. Harper texted her parents, "I'm okay. Don't contact me." Then she blocked their numbers. Not out of hate, but necessity. 2 days later, she stepped off a plane in Savannah. The warm breeze carrying the scent of salt and freedom. Her new apartment was modest but bright. The kind of quiet that felt like peace. Not loneliness. She made coffee, opened the balcony door, and let the morning settle. Evelyn was working at a boutique now. Whispers following her more than customers. Mason had moved to Charlotte. His social media dormant. Diane still sent Christmas texts. They went unread. Harper, though, watched the sunrise, coffee in hand, smiling at nothing in particular. This wasn't an ending, it was a reclamation. She'd once thought walking away meant losing. That silence was weakness. That choosing peace over proving a point was surrender. She was wrong. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is close a door without slamming it. Freedom doesn't always come with fireworks, it comes in quiet mornings. In knowing you didn't break. No matter how hard they tried to shatter you. Harper shared her story not for pity, but for those sitting in homes that no longer felt like home. Told they're too much for setting boundaries or not enough to be loved right. "You're not crazy," she'd say. "You're not cruel. You're allowed to protect your peace. Blood doesn't give anyone the right to break you. Loyalty isn't self-destruction." To those rebuilding, emotionally, spiritually, legally, she saw them. She'd been them. Now, she was free.